Alright, now we're going to prime the Quest MPS. You have previously plugged it into the wall, and then turn on the power here in the bottom, and respond to the machine as it goes through its startup procedure. You can hear it testing all of its little valves, and now it wants you to answer some questions for it. Are all the displays and parameter keys lit? So I want you to look around the screen and see that they were all turned on. And I should have done that faster and pressed yes. Now it wants to know whether I want to resume the previous case, or set my defaults, or change the protocols, or go to setup. So we're going to go to setup. Select the antigrade pressure source. So it wants to know, are we going to use the pressure inside the system, or would we use an external transducer? This system has been set up for us to use the system pressure, the pressure behind the bubble detector here, not a pressure directly off the aorta. So I'm going to press system. And it wants to know my blood to crystalloid ratio. And you see there's a flashing light down here on the screen, and this knob is used throughout this entire system to change parameters, whichever one is lit. And I'm turning this knob back and forth, and you can see it changing the blood to crystalloid ratio all the way from all crystalloid and in the other direction, going through many settings until it gets to all blood. Why don't we set it to 4:1, 4 parts blood to 1 part crystalloid, and then press the button. Crystalloid source volume, it wants to know how much volume is in the bag that we're going to spike from this crystalloid line that comes up the right hand side of the console. And the default here was 500. I can turn this knob up to, I'll change it to about 800, which will give me a little margin for error on this bag, and press confirm. Now I'm going to spike that bag, because it thinks I've already done that. Now it wants to set the high arrest delivery concentration. The arrest agent is down here in this corner, and it has the large bar here with a light lit, that's the high concentration, and then the low bar, which is not lit, is the low concentration. And this console right now is telling me that it's flashing to tell me that we're talking about arrest agent, and that the high is lit and set to 20. And if I wanted to change that, I would turn this knob here. We're okay with 20, so I'm just going to confirm that that's the number I want. And now, back up on the screen, it says set the low arrest delivery concentration. And you see it's switched over to the low bar, still flashing. It's set to 10, and we're okay with 10, but if we wanted to change it, we would turn this dial lower or higher. I'll set it back to 10 and confirm. It's going to work its way around the screen here for all of our settings. It wants to know how many milliliters per liter of cardioplegia do you want to administer from the additive bag. And it's right now this system is set to a default of 10 mils of additive per 1 liter of cardioplegia. We'll go ahead and accept that. It wants to know the temperature that we want to deliver when it's warm. 37. Yes. What temperature do we want to deliver when it's... Nope, sorry. Now you see it's flashing over here. It says set the antigrade system upper limit. So when should this machine let me know that the pressure is too high when delivering antigrade? That's set to 350. If we want to change that, we'll turn this knob, and we will accept 350 as our parameter. Now set the antigrade system's lower pressure limit, so alarm when the pressure is below what pressure. It's set to 1, that's fine. If I want to change it, I would turn this, accept that. Now it wants to know my retrograde upper pressure limit is set to 60, and that seems a little high, so I'm going to turn that down to 50. Typical clinical values somewhere between 35 and 55 or 60 or so. I'll set mine to 50, turn that, confirm that. Now it wants to know the retrograde lower pressure limit. That's set to 1. If I want to change it, I'll turn this knob, but that's okay, so I'll accept that. And now it wants me to fill the arrest and additive prior to prime, and then when I've done that, I'll push this button to start prime. So this is how we will fill the additive. The additive is the green syringe here, the green stopcock. I don't have a green colored syringe, so I've previously drawn up whatever our additive is going to be into a syringe. I'm going to add that to this stopcock here. Turn it so my syringe is open to the bag that's down here behind the door, and just squeeze that volume in. Right now the bag inside is filling up with my additive. It'll hold about 40. Correction, seems to be holding pretty close to 60. Now I'll turn it off to my syringe and set this aside. The mechanism inside is monitored the filling of that bag, and it knows the volume of the bag because it knows how far I've pushed the piston back. Here's my arrest agent. The arrest agent must be 2 milliequivalents per mil concentration of potassium. So this simulates a syringe full of potassium that is a concentration of 2 milliequivalents per mil. I would have drawn that up from a drug vial into the syringe, and then from the syringe into the bag. As I fill this up, the bag is filling. The filling of the bag is depressing a piston. The brains of the system here is monitoring how full that bag is. It looks like it's filled right up. It's not taking any more from me. Off to the syringe is now open between the bag and our administration set. Can set this aside. Having filled the arrest and additive prior to prime, I can now press start prime. Before you press start prime, you should confirm that you have an arterial line pressure that is somewhat positive here. Now you can see that it is between 80 and 100. If you don't have a positive pressure, you should go put some afterload on your circuit, perhaps by adding a clamp to the venous line. You're going to need that pressure to drive the fluid from the oxygenator up the blood line and into the bag. This is higher than that, so you need a positive pressure. Let's go ahead and start the prime. You heard it open and close a bunch of clamps as part of its testing process. You can see it's received some volume and it's now pumping it up into the chamber and venting all these bubbles that it is detecting down the vent line over and back into the reservoir. A lot of perfusionists at this time may tap on this a little bit to get those bubbles that are stuck on the plastic to roll to the top so they can go down to that line. It keeps you posted on its progress of each of these steps. It's priming the cardioplegia, it's doing the air expulsion. We're 40% done with the process right now. see that it has chosen to pump. It was priming at 150 mils a minute while it was doing that. It says a bubble was detected, and it is warning me that there's air in the delivery line. The delivery line is what comes out of the side of this. So this is the delivery line, and this is the bubble detector right here, and you can see there is a bubble there. We have the extra long delivery line on here to go to the antegrade and retrograde connections. So we may just need to go ahead and tell it this that we corrected that, and it'll try again. Now it's doing a leak test. So it's bringing the pressure of this system up and seeing that if it holds, if it will hold a certain pressure. If it were to apply pressure and then monitor and the pressure was dropping, then it would know there's a leak in the system, and I'll get an error on that. Now it's priming the arrest agent. You see that line just filled. That's priming the additive agent. So this line will fill. See the fluid hit just now. Doing a leak test in the water system. And when it's done priming, then it goes automatically into recirculation mode. And now you have manual control. I can turn on my flow here, and it will open the vent and just recirculate over there. It's warning me that there's air in the delivery line. So now it's pumping at 81 mils a minute. The vent is open, and it's going over the reservoir. And it'll just do that continuously because it's in recirculation mode. It's not delivering any potassium. You can see that in recirculation mode it turns off the potassium, and the additive, it's only delivering whole blood. No additive, no potassium.